Good evening and welcome to the Marcellus Central School District Board of Education meeting for tonight, Monday, June 15th, 2020. At this time, I would ask that everyone please stand and join with me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening and thank you for joining us virtually for our Board of Education meeting this evening. You will have the opportunity to share comments under both resident comments sections of our agenda. You can do so by sending your comment to a special email address listed on your screen, comments@marcellusschools.org. We will display the current we'll display the current slide listing the email address unless we are presenting other information. Please send your comments at any time during the meeting. Once we arrive at the resident comments section of the meeting, we will read any comments that we have received. At this time, I will turn the agenda over to Mrs. Brandner for presentations.
Good evening, everyone. Just wanted to give you a very quick update on some of the progress with the building project that's currently happening here at DMS. So just a couple of images of the drainage work that's happening up on the upper DMS field, including one of the catch basins that was pulled out and was crumbling and full of sediment. So that was pulled. And then you can also see an image here of a special jackhammer tool that they brought in. We obviously have a lot of rocky soil, and I think this was discovered, predating my time here, up when work was happening on the softball field in particular. And so this tool was brought in because, again, we're finding large rocks that need to be taken care of. And so they're working on it and having a lot of success in getting those rocks cleared out. Also, abatement continues to go on, and here's, you don't get to get in and see this, so you can see some of the prep that they're doing as they set up enclosures in a couple of the rooms to either abate, in some cases, pipe wrap. It could be ceilings. Usually when a floor is covered, they're doing something at the ceiling level. An enclosure like you see in the middle picture is probably univent, pipe wrap, asbestos insulation type of abatement. And then the photo all the way to the right shows where some windows have been pulled. You can see a gentleman up on a lift abating the window caulk that we know is around all of the windows that we're having replaced. And then as our new equipment starts to arrive, you can see if you drove by earlier this week, there was a huge semis loaded with the different univents and machinery that's going to be installed. You can see down in the basement as they pull, we're going to digital controls from pneumatic controls. You can see all the cabling that has to happen. It always looks like a bunch of spaghetti, but they're running all that cable so that the connections can be made for data and electrical. And then, of course, in some cases, it's easier to move units in through windows rather than trying to go around corners and through corridors and upstairs. So they even have a lift that they can actually put things through the window. And then in addition, we have a camera set up in the basement so that we can do a time-elapsed video of the removal of these two old massive boilers. So you can see both of them. You can see both of them in the left picture, and then a more close-up view of the side of one of them. Those will be dismantled and taken out. The other thing that I wanted to bring to your attention, we had an issue that has held over from last spring's capital outlay work. If you recall, in the back DMS parking lot, we had some concrete replacement, the concrete walks around that back parking lot. And at the time that they did a portion of that work, We had some inclement weather, and one of the things that often they'll do to protect fresh concrete from rain is to place some plastic sheeting over it. If that plastic sheeting is down too long, it can stain the concrete. And so unfortunately that happened, and there was a lot of staining in the back. And then after the winter, we noticed quite a bit of pitting from salt, which should not be happening that soon. I mean, obviously we all know concrete eventually degrades, over the course of hopefully several years, not one season. So that led us to do some investigating and working with the contractor, and he was working with his subcontractor that supplied the concrete. And we finally have come to a resolution that he'll be replacing all of the stained and less than appropriate concrete in the back at no cost to the district. And that work is supposed to begin this week. I didn't get a chance to get back there today to check, but I'm guessing it's going to proceed. So I just wanted you to be aware, in case you were to see somebody back there pulling up those sidewalks that you thought were brand new, there's some issue with that concrete, and it needs to be replaced. So that will be happening. Good news. So that's what's happening with so far with the building projects. I did send an update out to you today that we'll be finally going out to bid for the turf work, the turf and the track, and that bid opening will culminate on August 4th. And hopefully we will then have everything we need and just be waiting for next summer to come. So that's it for the building project update.
Budget vote process update.
So this is probably old news at this point, but just a quick recap that our budget vote was delayed by executive order of the governor. We had to pull our ballot box by 5 o'clock on June 5th last week, or June 9th rather, excuse me. And mail-in ballots were still to be accepted through mail delivery tomorrow. There's some discussion that the executive order points to waiting until 5 p.m. And there's other schools of thought that say once your mail delivery shows up, you won't be getting ballots after that. So if you were to get mail at 2 or 3 o'clock, you could actually start counting then. So we've consulted with our attorney and decided that we'll stick with the 5 o'clock because that's what we think what's clearest in the executive order. Our election inspectors will be on site and trained starting at 4:30 so that the ballot counting, we're all ready and in place, will commence at 5 p.m. Again, our attorney gave us pretty detailed guidance on the process that we should use, not only to make sure that we're doing things legally, but also to make sure that we're validating everything and that we are keeping voter information and specific votes confidential and separate from the person who actually did the voting. So the process will, we'll start with checking the signature of the voter, making sure that they've signed the attestation that's on the envelope. If there's a problem with that, we set the ballot aside, and then an election inspector will help us decide whether or not it's a valid or invalid ballot. We then check to make sure the ballot's coming from an eligible voter. That could be from the list received from Onondaga County, but it also could be there's some voters that were missing from that list that requested ballots and they're eligible because they are residents. From there, the ballot envelope is opened and the ballot removed without unfolding it, and it will be placed in a ballot box. So that's a way for us to separate the identity from the vote so that votes are kept confidential. At that point, once all have been removed and validated, those unfolded ballots will be taken from the ballot box in groupings and given to one of the counting teams. From there, they'll be determining what the votes are on the ballot and tallying those for both candidates and the propositions. And then they'll inform the chief inspector of their tally. That person will make the total from all of the teams and then inform our district clerk. So it's a pretty well laid out process that we'll be reviewing like I said, tomorrow evening, tomorrow afternoon, when the team gathers. So just a couple of other things. We've received about 2,300 ballots. It looks like around the area, people are trending similar to us, receiving about 3 times the amount that we normally would receive, which is good news. It means more folks have been able to participate. Our plan is to have a count by tomorrow night. We've never done this before, but our best estimates of how long the process will take have us being able to announce results tomorrow evening. And just as a side note, if for some reason our budget is not supported by the community, we now have more than one option. The governor did announce that he would be putting out details about revotes, and it looks like we could have a revote if we wish to do so in July. The other option the board would have would be to proceed directly to a contingency budget. In the event that we do that, that would necessitate about $400,000 in cuts in order to go out with a contingency budget.
Is it because the contingency budget cannot exceed last year's budget?
It's actually the levy. There's a 0% increase on the levy. So whatever your levy increase amount is, that automatically gets cut out. So that's where we're at. We're excited to move forward tomorrow night.
2,300 ballots, and typically in years past, what was an average number for ballots?
Last year was 750.
I was gonna say about 800, but yeah, last year was 750. I think we've
So
been,
about 3 times as much.
yes.
Any other questions for Michelle on either of the 2 presentations? All right, moving to item 4, recognition.
Well, normally, when we have this June board meeting, we're able to have a nice reception and invite all of our retirees and their families and our tenure candidates and their families together. And I think it's a great way to do recognition of these 2 groups. For me, it's very symbolic to bring together people that have dedicated usually 20 to 30 plus years to educating children, be it in our community or other communities, along with people that are just starting their career. I think, you know, it does provide sort of a compelling example that, you know, this is what it looks like to serve the children in a community and be dedicated to a community and to serving students. So tonight we will have to do this virtually. We did let our retirees know that we would like to invite them back in the fall and, you know, do a proper dedication and have a reception and some time to see how the first few months of their retirement is going. So I start tonight. I just wanted to point out each person individually. And like I said, hopefully later on we can do something in person. Sue Stukas, longtime music teacher at Driver Middle School. She's been in the Marcellus community serving our students for 24 years. Sue retired actually in April, so I know she's gotten a head start on these other folks. And, you know, we really appreciated the passion she brought to her position and to music, and how she inspired students to want to continue to pursue music in high school. So congratulations to Sue. Next, Michelle Rodolico. Michelle is an amazing woman, another person who will be greatly missed. She's been teaching our special needs students here and has served 28 years in the Marcellus community. She's seen a lot of really positive change, and I know was excited to spend the last several years of her career with her partner in crime, Jen Sega, in a co-teach situation. You know, I have great admiration for Michelle, and I know not only will I miss her, but I know a lot of people will miss her. She also served as our content specialist for special education for K-6 and really served the teachers that she led very, very well, and was a great partner for our director of special education, Carol Lux. So congratulations to Michelle. I know she has some really exciting plans for her future. Next, we have Hanna Nolan. Hannah is a science teacher at Driver Middle School, and we've been fortunate to have her service here to our students in the Marcellus community for 20 years. Hanna also led the Science Olympiad teams for a very long time. And I know that you all know Hanna well because as a union representative, she was in the rotation coming to board meetings. So we saw her quite frequently. You know, Hanna to me is someone who really has inspired students to think about science, especially as we move forward with the change in the standards and the focus on STEM education. You know, I think Hanna's sort of a renegade, and she, you know, she lives science. All you have to do is drive by her house and see her beautiful gardens to know that science is really a part of everything that she does. So I will miss her positive attitude, and she was somebody that even after all these years in education was ready to try something new. And to me, that's how it ought to be, that on your last day, you should be as excited about your job as you were on the first day. And Hanna was definitely that, has been that person for me. Speaking of science, Mary Jo Hoff, I think has been a wonderful complement to Hanna and worked with her quite a bit on Science Olympiad as well. Mary Jo spent the last several years first teaching science at the elementary school, you know, bringing students into a lab setting and doing all kinds of really exciting things with them. And then we transitioned her a few years ago to actually provide some leadership to our elementary teachers as they work towards teaching to a new set of standards that really required quite a high level of interest, knowledge, and background in science. And I think Mary Jo was there to hold a hand, to work side by side, to help with planning, and really has inspired a lot of our teachers to do amazing things in their classrooms with science. And Mary Jo was here in the Marcellus community serving students for 28 years. A funny story, Mary Jo was the first teacher in Marcellus that I met, and I'm holding up quotes right now because I remember after I'd been appointed turning on the TV one morning and watching the teacher spotlight, and there was Mary Jo Hoff on the WCNY news report in the morning talking about the position that she has and how she's inspiring students with science. So I was inspired by her before I ever met her in person. And next we have Jen Sega. Earlier I talked about Michelle Rodolico's partner in crime, and here she is. The two were an amazing co-teaching team. Really, you could walk into that classroom and could not tell who was the regular ed classroom teacher and who was the special educator. They definitely had a partnership and worked seamlessly to support all of the students in their care, and students passing through that classroom were certainly very blessed to have these two women taking care of them. I know that Jen is excited to retire, but she's also been excited to serve the students of Marcellus for the last 27 years, and we really wish her well as well. And then Janet OMeara. Janet has been our wonderful Driver Middle School principal for the past several years and has done an excellent job over the past year of working with her assistant principal, Katie Cook, who will be taking over that role next year. Janet will be, I've talked to a lot of people in the past, few weeks as we're all lamenting the loss of so many amazing people, and Janet's definitely one of them. She is inspiring. She has such a calm way about her. She really thinks things through. And I know that our administrative cabinet, we all look to her, to see what her take on things might be. And she really leads and guides everything she does with a steady hand. I know Janet's a lover of the outdoors and loves her dogs. And I know that she has lots of exciting things ahead. And we're very fortunate that she will still be here, hopefully on a part-time basis, helping us with some evaluations in the coming year, because I'm not sure we're quite ready to say goodbye to Janet. And I know this has been a hard end of the year for everyone, and especially Janet. I don't think anyone wanted to retire without seeing kids for so many months. So we wish Janet well, and like I said, lucky that we'll still have some close contact with her in the months to come. And of course, our final retiree, Tom West. I think Tom has tried to escape his role as board member many times, but he has been unsuccessful repeatedly in getting away from us. Even this last time, Tom thought it was over until that executive order from the governor pushed the vote off another week. Tom, you know, what can we say? When we need you, you are there. I know that we will still have lots of contact with you because you have 2 children here. And you always lend a hand when we need a perspective about security things. You've done a great job coming in and talking to our students about your fascinating profession. And, you know, you're a sound, rational, you know, calm person. And I know that we all look to you for your leadership, and we've been very fortunate to have you fill in when we needed you most. So we can't thank you enough. And I think this time you're actually going to get away. So congratulations to all of our retirees.
Tenure appointments.
And I just wanted to point out too, we also would be having all these wonderful tenure candidates and their families with us this evening. We will be voting on the tenure of the folks listed here: Zach Iannicello, who's a science teacher at the high school; Karen Quill, special education at the high school; Amy Modzaleski has been teaching math at DMS for a very long time. She started out part-time, so she's just been in the tenure track the last 4 years. Tyler Cooper teaches science at the high school. Josh Nightingale, instrumental music at DMS. Alyssa Rotger teaches elementary education at DMS. Andrea Heil is a math teacher at DMS. And Barb Rawlings has worked in every building, either in her capacity as a special educator or as a teacher of English as a new language. These folks are all exceptional, and I know that Mr. McCullough is someone who leads the charge in asking all of us, is this someone that you would want teaching your children? And I say a resounding yes, all caps in bold. They're an exceptional group of people, and we're excited to have them receiving their tenure.
All right, thank you, Mrs. Brandner. Moving on, item number 5, resident comments. Public expression at Board of Education meetings is encouraged, and a specific portion of the agenda shall provide for this privilege. In most instances, the board shall reserve judgment regarding questions and concerns that are brought to the board's attention at a board meeting, as it is typically not prudent for the board to make instantaneous determinations. In addition, many issues that are brought to the board's attention do not require a formal determination by the board, but rather are most appropriately addressed by the superintendent or persons designated by the superintendent without further board action. This is in accordance with board policy 3220. Are there any resident comments at this time, Mr. Snaccio?
There are none.
No resident comments. Moving on to item 6 business, 6.1, 6.1, authorization for CRP agreement with the Center of Discovery. Resolved that the Board of Education authorizes the agreement between the Center of Discovery and the Marcellus Central School District for services from July 1st, 2020 to June 30th, 2021. May I have a motion?
So moved, Tom.
Second, Patty.
Any discussion or questions? Board members, I would ask that when you vote, you please state your name when voting and how you are voting. Those in favor?
Patty, aye.
Kelly, I. Janine, I.
Margie, aye.
Mike, aye.
Mike, aye.
Yep.
No, I mean, Mike, me also. Aye. Sorry, Mike. Did Tom vote?
Mhm.
Opposed? Carried. 6.2, reorganizational Board of Education meeting 2020-21. Resolved that the Board of Education approves the scheduling of the annual reorganizational meeting scheduled for Monday, July 13th, 2020. May I have a motion?
Patty,
Second,
Kelly,
Kelly? All those in favor?
Patty, I.
Kelly, I. Janine, I.
Margie, I.
Mike, aye.
And Michael, I. Opposed? Carried. 6.3, adoption of Board of Education schedule of meetings for the 2020-2021 school year. Resolved that the Board of Education adopts the Board of Education schedule of meetings for the 2020-21 school year. May I have a motion?
Mike, motion.
Janine.
Mike,
Yeah,
Driscoll? Second?
Janine,
All those in favor?
Patty, I.
Kelly, I. Janine, I.
Margie, I.
Tom, I.
Mike, aye.
And Michael, I. Opposed? Carried. Item 7, personnel. Resolved that the following personnel items be approved. You can see 7.1 through 7.4. Do I have a motion?
Motion, Kelly.
Ellie? A second?
Patty,
Any comments or discussion?
Yes, my slide got cut off, so I have to go back and mention 3 teachers that were left off the tenure slide. They're on the agenda, but my slide must have gotten cut off. And that's Ashley Kuhn, who's an art teacher at KCH, Jason Burke, high school social studies, and Diana Jocelyn, DMS science. And they are all amazing and incredible as well. So I apologize for that error.
All those in favor?
Patty, I.
Janine, I.
Tom, I.
Margie, oh. Margie, I.
Mike, aye.
Michael, I. We got everybody?
Yep.
Opposed, carried. Item 8, consent agenda. Resolved that the consent agenda consisting of the following items be approved. You can see those in front of you, 8.1 through 8.5. May I have a motion?
Patty,
Second,
Second, Margie.
any questions or comments? Discussion, all those in favor?
Patty, I.
Kelly, I. Janine, I.
Margie, I.
Tom, I.
Mike, aye.
And Michael, I. 0 nays, carried. Information items, COVID-19 updates.
So just a few updates for you. First of all, the New York State Public High School Athletic Association just came out with 2 guidance documents to assist districts across the state planning for summer preseason work. There's very specific things that have to happen, including developing a plan that will ultimately be approved by the board. So we'll be in the process of digging through that guidance and forming a committee similar to what we'll be doing with school reopening so that we have some other eyes on that plan. It's important to note that the possibility of this happening isn't until phase 4, which we're obviously not in at this time. And there's also another set of phases included in the guidance from the New York State Public High School Athletic Association. So this will be a little bit before we can actually get students here working with teams. it's a little confusing because when you watch press conferences and you see things like lower risk sports can start now, you know, little league and things like that, you might think, oh, well, high schools can start having kids on campus working with coaches. And you know, schools are always in sort of a separate category when this guidance comes out. So we will keep you posted, and certainly we will keep our coaches and student athletes posted. We're very eager to give them an opportunity to be together and work out, but we do need to make sure that we're following our guidelines. So more to come on that. Just a reminder that our graduation plans are to have mini family ceremonies on the 23rd and 24th coming up next week. We also will have student only ceremony on the 27th. We're hoping that'll wrap up somewhere around 10:30, and we'll have a car parade to follow that will end up by about noon. And then later in that day in the afternoon, we will drop that video of all of the mini family ceremonies and speeches together, along with that senior slideshow for families to watch later in the day on Saturday. We just wrapped up this evening at 5 o'clock our materials collection. It went very well, and that's largely due to, of course, the administrative team for making all the plans, the staff volunteers for coming and improving our plans, making it run even more smoothly, all of our amazing families that were here right on time, ready with their materials and making the process run smoothly. We also had a special day for seniors last Thursday, and we're delighted that Edible Arrangements and Camillus provided lovely treats for each member of the senior class, and it was really incredible, and we can't thank them enough. Our high school parent team who came and helped out with that process and distributed they actually distributed ice cream because someone, I think named Margie Venzel, decided that our seniors were going to miss out on their last ice cream social and really needed to have an opportunity to have some ice cream before they left. And then our parents that worked tirelessly on our After the Ball virtual raffle, they were also on hand distributing all the gifts and cash prizes won by the students. And it was just amazing to have everyone together helping out and making our kids feel special. We also have some fun things happening for our third graders, including our PTO sponsoring a digital caricature event last week. That was fascinating. There was actually an artist, you can see in the picture, this is a picture of what the screen looked like. There was an artist using digital tools, and students were organized by class to come in and sit with the artist virtually. And the artist did a caricature of each student in the class while they hung out and talked with each other and with their teacher. And those will be printed out and available for the kids to have. So really exciting. And I know the PTO also did some really fun quarantine themed moving up t-shirts for the kids. So I'm sure they're excited to have all of those things. We also are going to be able to do our 8th grade moving up car parade. Unfortunately, it is the same night that we'll be counting votes, but I'm hoping to be able to peek out and see all the fun. So that'll be happening tomorrow evening. And I know our PTA donated some custom Mustang treats, and I hear there's going to be an amazing banner so that we can have some great photo ops. I think you'll see a theme here that without this amazing community partnering with us on all of these events, we wouldn't be able to show our students just how special we think they are. And we certainly couldn't have done it without them. So thank you so much for everyone in the community that's done amazing things for our kids. I'm continuing to ponder reopening planning. This is one of those things where everyone's very eager to hear what the plan is, and I'm very eager to hear what the guidance will be from the state. So I'm trying to take some steps to prepare without going too far ahead, because if we get too far ahead, what ends up happening is that everything we plan sort of gets washed away when guidance comes that doesn't fit with those plans. So I've been gathering all kinds of guidance from lots of different sources, including other states, and keeping those in a document, all linked so that we'll have those to look at. There are 2 state level committees that are meeting to develop that guidance. I think I've mentioned this before. The state ed has a team and the governor has a team. I'm hoping that in the end, they will converge in some way and we'll have guidance that's extremely similar. And I'm also in the process of putting together 2 committees. One committee will focus on reopening logistics. So all of the things that you could imagine, how will we have school? And basically that group will probably divide into subcommittees based on specialty. The other team will focus on social emotional wellness. Depending on what everyone's experience has been, you may or may not recognize that this crisis has really had an impact on people. I know a teacher was sharing with me a final project that she assigned her students to do a documentary about their experiences. And she just conveyed to me the heavy content included in those documentaries and wanted to make sure that I recognized there was definitely a need for us to address some of the social emotional needs of students, and I would say our staff as well, because this has been a tough time for everybody. So we will have a committee focusing specifically on addressing those needs. So that will continue to move forward, and I will keep you updated, and I'll be setting dates for that group to get together. It'll likely be virtual, depending on the comfort level of the folks on the committee, or it might be a combination of some folks coming and meeting in person and some joining us virtually.
Any questions for Michelle regarding any of the COVID-19 updates? All right. Item 10, resident comments. Mr. Snaccio, are there any comments?
No, sir.
No comments at the second comment portion on the agenda. That being said, we'll move on to item 11, enter into executive session. Resolved that the meeting in public be adjourned and executive session be convened for the purpose of discussion of the superintendent's evaluation. May I have a motion?
Kelly, motion.
Second, Margie.
All those in favor?
Patty, I.
Kelly, I. Janine, I.
Margie, I.
I.
Mike, I.
And Michael, I. No nays, carried. Time is 7:39.